So, welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily MCQ Practice. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs through a set of 4 to 5 MCQs. The idea behind this lecture series is very simple. We want you to develop this daily habit of practicing MCQs, especially from current affairs, because current affairs forms the most important portion of your UPSC syllabus. And what better way of revising current affairs on a daily basis than by getting the much needed MCQ practice? So make this lecture series a part of your daily routine, because through this, you'll not only be able to revise your current affairs properly, adequately, but you'll also get the much needed MCQ practice, which would come in really handy for you whenever you appear for prelims examination, stage 1 of your civil services examination. So make this lecture series a part of your daily routine. All right, let's begin today's discussion, starting with question number 1. Consider the following statements regarding core inflation. It is the non-food, non-fuel component of inflation. Core inflation is mostly driven by supply side factors, and therefore RBI's interest rate policy is less effective in containing it. RBI's interest rate policy caters mostly to food and fuel inflation, and it ignores the core inflation numbers. Okay, all right then. So about core inflation. So the thing is that inflation happens because of two things. Either demand skyrockets, it increases, or supply falls. Okay. Now, RBI decides its interest rate policy based on headline inflation. That is the complete inflation numbers. Okay. Now, this headline inflation is divided into two parts. Core inflation. The other is food and fuel inflation. So what is basically core inflation? Core inflation is non-food, non-fuel component of inflation. So this is correct. Okay. Now the thing is that food and fuel inflation is mostly driven by supply side factors. Whenever the supply of food will fall short, it will cause food inflation. Whenever the supply of fuel will fall short, it will cause fuel inflation. Okay, so food and fuel inflation are mostly driven by drastic cut in supply, whereas other inflation or inflation in other things, which belongs to the category of core inflation, is mostly driven by increase in demand. So we can safely say that core inflation is demand driven, and food and fuel inflation generally, not always, but generally, is supply driven. Okay, so core inflation is mostly supply side factors, driven by supply side factors, not at all demand side factors. Now, to contain inflation, RBI increases interest rates. So RBI's interest rate policy is mostly focused on taming inflation, containing inflation. Whenever there is high inflation, RBI increases interest rates. What happens is that increased interest rates increase borrowing costs, which reduces the amount of borrowing, which reduces the amount of demand of people. Okay, it affects aggregate demand. And when aggregate demand reduces, well, because demand is down, inflation also calms down. Okay, so to control inflation, RBI increases interest rates. But many people say that because food and fuel inflation is driven by supply, increasing interest rates by RBI does not address food and fuel inflation. It definitely addresses core inflation, but never affects food and fuel inflation, because food and fuel inflation are driven by or is driven by supply side factors. Okay, so second statement is false because core inflation is demand driven. RBI's interest rate policy caters mostly to food and fuel inflation, not at all. RBI's interest rate policy never ignores core inflation. It focuses on entire inflation, core, food, fuel, everything. So this is also false. Only one, the answer is A. RBI focuses on headline inflation. It includes food, fuel, and core inflation. Clear? Question number 2. Which of the following are responsible for reduced heat wave-like conditions in North India in summers? High frequency of western disturbances, a continuous incursion of moisture from Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea into the Indian mainland, above normal melting of glaciers in the Himalayas, development of severe El Nino conditions in the equatorial Pacific. Okay. So now this year, many people predicted that summers are going to be unusually hot. Okay. There are going to be frequent episodes of heat wave, especially during the months of April and May. But what actually happened was that April and May, both April and May, saw temperatures which were below the normal. Okay, they were unusually cooler than normal. Normally, April and May, the months of April and May are unusually hot in North India, but they saw cooler temperatures this time. Reduced heat wave like conditions were there during this time. Okay, so what are the reasons behind that? First of all, there was a higher frequency of western disturbances. These western cyclonic disturbances originate in the Mediterranean region and they travel eastwards, carrying moisture from Mediterranean Sea and Caspian Sea, and they carry that moisture and dump that moisture in the north and northwest India, causing rainfall in northern plains and causing snowfall in higher reaches, higher mountains. Okay. So there was higher frequency of western disturbances during the months of April and May, which caused rainfall, which decreased the temperatures. That is correct. Plus, there were winds that were traveling from Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea into the Indian mainland, carrying moisture with them and causing rainfall, which again dropped the temperatures. These were the two reasons why we saw unusually cooler months of April and May in northwest India and North India. Above normal melting of glaciers is not the cause. Okay. Plus, development of severe El Nino conditions, that is not true because El Nino conditions have subsided. They subsided last year. Okay. So this is also false. 1 and 2 only, the answer is A. Question 3. Which of the following is are correct regarding overseas citizenship of or overseas citizen of India? OCI scheme was introduced by an amendment to the Citizenship Act 1955 in 2005. OCI card holders are not eligible to vote, but they are allowed to enroll for Aadhaar scheme. OCI card holders can purchase residential and commercial, agricultural and plantation property in India. Okay. So look, there are many Indians that are living abroad and they have taken citizenship of those abroad countries, foreign countries. So they are the citizens of those foreign countries, but they are of Indian origin and therefore they have an India connection. Some of them have family members residing in India and some of them have to travel to India frequently. Okay. Now, India does not have a system of dual citizenship, but India wants to help these people who have an India connection and are foreign citizens. So India launched Overseas Citizenship of India scheme in 2005 by amending Citizenship Act 1955. And through this, India brought out OCI card scheme. Okay. So all these people who have an India connection, who are people of Indian origin, though they are foreign citizens, they can apply for OCI card. As soon as they get OCI card, well, they will be getting many facilities that are given to Indian citizens. Okay. So they will be very close to Indian citizens, though they are not dual citizens. But through this OCI card, they will get various facilities that are given to Indian citizens. For example, visa free travel to India. They can own properties. They can enroll for Aadhaar and many other facilities. Though they can't vote because voting right is with citizens. Okay. But they have many facilities. So OCI card holders are not eligible to vote. Absolutely correct. But they are allowed to enroll for Aadhaar scheme. Absolutely correct. Okay. OCI card holders can purchase residential and commercial properties. Absolutely correct. But OCI card holders cannot purchase agricultural or plantation property in India. So this statement is false. Okay. 1 and 2 only. The answer is A. Question 4. Consider the following statements regarding open network for digital commerce. It is a decentralized, interoperable network that connects buyers and sellers. It was launched by Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution in 2021. Currently, ONDC does not levy any network fee from any of its users. Okay. So look, to facilitate payments, online payments, Government of India created UPI. Now, this UPI is used by many apps like Google Pay, Phone Pay, Paytm, and many apps for providing payment services. Okay, but all of them are using this UPI network that was created by India, especially National Payment Corporation of India. Okay, now through this UPI, Government of India basically facilitated online payments, digital payments, right? This brought about a revolution of sorts as far as online payments are concerned. Now, similarly, Government of India also wants to promote e-commerce. Now, for e-commerce, you require a proper network where buyers and sellers can meet. Okay, what does Amazon or Flipkart provide? They provide a network where buyers can place orders with sellers, right? Now that network is very expensive to build. Amazon has built it. So to help out smaller players to launch their own e-commerce business, okay, government created ONDC, Open Network for Digital Commerce. So just like UPI, to promote e-commerce, government created ONDC. Now, small businesses in India can use this ONDC. They can integrate this ONDC with their apps and allow their customers to purchase whatever they want to purchase from any seller through these apps, right? Which are linked with ONDC. So just like UPI is linked with Google Pay, Paytm, Phone Pay, ONDC is linked with these apps, okay? So as to boost e-commerce, right? So it is a decentralized, interoperable network that connects buyers and sellers. Absolutely correct. Now, this was launched in 2021, but it was launched by Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, which is under Commerce Ministry. It was not launched by Ministry of Consumer Affairs. So this is false. Currently, all these apps, all these users of ONDC are not charged any network fee. Currently, that's the status. But in future, the government is going to charge a fee. Okay. So this is correct. 1 and 3 are correct. The answer is C. And last, but definitely not the least, consider the following statements regarding Supreme Court's judgment on ex post facto environmental clearance. As per the Supreme Court, retrospective environmental clearance are a violation of Article 21 and Article 14 of the Constitution. Not constitutions, Constitution. As per the Supreme Court, right to a healthy and pollution-free environment is part of Article 21. Now listen to me carefully. The thing is that any infrastructure project, whether it's highway building, power plant or anything, before building operations start or before anything starts, okay, they have to take environmental clearance from Ministry of Environment. This environmental clearance is based on the study that is conducted to check what impact this infrastructure project would have on the environment. This study is known as environmental impact assessment. So based on this assessment, you're given environmental clearance and then you can start building that infrastructure project. Okay. Now this is important because Supreme Court has earlier said that, well, right to a healthy and pollution-free environment is part of your fundamental right. Article 21 guarantees the fundamental right of right to life. Well, right to a healthy environment is also right to life. Supreme Court has made it clear. Therefore, these assessments, these clearances are very important because we don't want these infrastructure projects to harm the environment so that the right to life or right to healthy pollution-free environment of citizens gets impacted. Okay. Now, what happened was that many infrastructure projects started building their infrastructure projects without getting this environmental clearance. And they were functioning. Okay. Now, this was a clear violation of the law or the rules. Now, in 2017, Government of India came out with a notification and said, all those infrastructure projects that started without getting their clearance can get their clearance now within this 6-month window. They won't be punished. Okay. Now, this was basically challenged in the Supreme Court based on Article 21 and Article 14, which is right to equality. Because these petitioners who challenged this notification of the government in the Supreme Court, they said that, well, there were many people, many companies who took environmental clearance lawfully and then started their projects. And there are people who violated the law without getting environmental clearance and started their projects. You are treating both of them at par. You are treating a law-abiding company and a law-violating company at par by bringing in this notification. This is violation of right to equality. So this notification was challenged in the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court called it illegal, this notification of the government, and struck it down. Okay, and said that retrospective environmental clearance, when you go back, even when the project has started, you go back and then give clearance to it, it is not allowed. So this is also correct. Both statements are correct. The answer is C. And with that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it has added value to your preparation, but it would add more value if you revise this lecture as well. And by revision, I mean spending another 5 to 10 minutes taking a look at written detailed solutions to each and every MCQ discussed above. Now, these written detailed solutions are provided in our notes, and these notes are shared on our Telegram platform. The link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section just below this video. And on that note, I'll be signing off with the promise of seeing you again with another set of MCQs. Thank you, everyone.